All right, let's talk about a really big idea in security today. What if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if instead of being this constant draining tax on your business, security could actually become a strategic dividend that pays you back again and again? So let's just start with this one simple question. I want you to think about your organization's security efforts right now. Be honest. Does it feel like a cost center, a necessary evil, a tax you just have to pay to stay in business? Or does it feel like a smart investment, something that actually helps you innovate faster and build real trust? The gap between those two feelings is, well, it's everything. So let's start with the reality for so many teams out there. Let's talk about the world of the endless security tax. I mean, look, security teams today they're completely swamped. They are drowning in this constant sea of alerts for vulnerabilities, for misconfigurations, for supply chain risks. And in our super complex multi-cloud world, the simple truth is there just aren't enough people or hours in the day to patch everything fast enough. It's an impossible task. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. It points out the huge fundamental weakness of the old model. We build these incredibly complex systems, and then what do? We cross our fingers and we hope that overworked people under pressure will always make the perfect security choice. That's not a strategy. That's a strategy based on luck. And in security, luck always runs out. Okay, so if the old way is totally broken, what's the alternative? It's not about trying to work harder, right? It's about adopting a fundamentally smarter blueprint for how we build our systems right from the very beginning. I absolutely love this analogy because it just reframes the entire conversation. Think about it. We would never, ever treat safety as an afterthought in other mature engineering fields, like building airplanes or skyscrapers. So why on earth should our critical digital systems be any different? It is time for our IT and security culture to grow up. So this new, smarter blueprint, it really rests on three core principles. And when you put them together, they create this really powerful, layered defense that's actually designed for the messy reality of today's world. All right, let's start with the big one, the most important one, secure by design. This is a huge shift in thinking. Instead of waiting to find vulnerabilities later on, you design the system from the ground up so that entire classes of vulnerabilities can't even be introduced in the first place. You are literally architecting problems out of existence. Next up is secure by default, and this is all about making the safe option the easy option. The perfect example is when AWS changed the default setting for new S3 buckets to be private. All of a sudden, a massive number of data leaks that were caused by simple human error just poof, disappeared. Now, you have to actively choose the less secure path instead of just falling into it by accident. And finally, secure in failure. You can think of this as the modern evolution of that old defense in depth idea. It starts with the assumption that sooner or later, some security control will fail. It's inevitable. The real question is, what happens next? A well-designed system has other controls ready and waiting to contain the damage and stop a single failure from turning into a total catastrophe. Okay, so that's the theory, right? It sounds good, but how do we actually take these principles and use them to make mistakes basically impossible in the real world? I think this slide just lays it out so perfectly. The old way is all reactive. It relies on hoping that people can navigate this minefield of choices and always get it right. The new way? It's proactive. It removes the mines from the field altogether. It's designed to make the right way the only way. And we can see this out in the wild. A fantastic example is Salesforce's Force.com platform. They use their own query language called SOQL, and it was intentionally built to make one of the most common and dangerous web vulnerabilities, SQL injection, completely impossible. A developer literally cannot write an unsafe query. The insecure option just doesn't exist. And this principle isn't just about code, It applies at the infrastructure level too. Using golden images, these super minimal OS builds that only have the absolute essential software is a perfect example of secure by design. By stripping out all the unnecessary stuff from the start, you shrink your attack surface, you eliminate tons of potential vulnerabilities, and you dramatically reduce all that patching work you'll have to do later. So how does all this lead us to the most important part of the conversation? How do we take that painful security tax and actually turn it into a powerful security dividend? This is where we make the business case. Of course, we have to be realistic here. On a greenfield project, a system you're building from scratch, it's pretty easy to bake these principles in. But let's be honest, most of us live and work in gray field environments, trying to bolt security onto a complex mess of old and new systems. That's definitely harder, but it also makes the core financial argument even more critical. And this chart just shows the whole financial story perfectly. The security tax model, bolting security on later, is crazy expensive over time. It's just this constant, exhausting cycle of panic and patching. Now, secure by design? Yes, it takes more investment up front, but it pays for itself many, many times over by just eliminating all those future costs and headaches. And that right there, that's the security dividend. It's so much more than just saving money. It's the resilience that keeps your services online. It's the deep, lasting trust you build with your customers. And maybe, most importantly, it's that magic moment when security stops being a bottleneck and actually becomes something that enables your teams to move faster and to innovate safely. So, I'll leave you with this one final thought. As we enter this new era of increasingly sophisticated, AI-driven threats, that old reactive model of bolting on security is looking more and more fragile every single day. The real question is no longer, can you afford to invest in secure by design? The question we all need to be asking is, in this new reality, can you truly afford not to?